Welcome back. We're still looking at the headlines this morning on Power Breakfast News Review right here on Citizen TV with me, Fred Indimuli. I'm still in studio with Speaker of the Nairobi County Assembly, Beatrice Salachi, Bwana Dan Maanzo, MP Makueni, Murigi Kamande, a lawyer and also an analyst, and Kipruto Rapkirwa, Deputy Party Leader, Amani National Congress, which is an affiliate party of NASA. We want to look at NASA, but just before that, even the discussion we were just having before the break about how much influence the parties have. I've just seen this headline on page 5 of the Daily Nation. Opposition MPs in trouble over vetting. Opposition MPs who participated in the vetting of principal secretaries and ambassadors nominated by President Kenyatta may face disciplinary action for going against the coalition's resolve not to take part in the exercise. Now this is a headline I'm reading, Dan Maanzo, so yes. But food for thought. Let's now move to what is happening still within NASA. And there's a very big headline here, the one I just read before the break. Take oath or just shut up. Raila allies tell Wiper leader Kalonzo. ODM MPs John Mbadi, who is the chairman, Gladys Wanga and Junet Mohammed tell former Vice President walk the talk, insisting that failure to take oath as the people's president is betraying opposition core principle. Taking oath your personal choice, ODM tells Kalonzo. Party says NASA core principal's refusal to be sworn in seen as betrayal of supporters, but that it is his decision. On page 6 of the Daily Nation, Senator Tujoho respect Wiper leader. Kitui Senator Enoch Wambua has criticized Mombasa Governor Hassan Joho and other ODM leaders for alleged disrespect of Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka. Now, this played out openly when, for some reason, the Wiper Party leader attended an ODM National Governing Council meeting. I don't know what the intention was, but during that meeting, a few words were said here, and it was seen as a lot of disrespect to the Wiper Party leader. You are a member of the Wiper Party, Bwana Dan Maanzo. What is your stand on this? Yes, do you still feel that members of ODM are disrespecting your party leader?
Well, first of all, I think it's an indiscipline of some sort, unless the Honorable Bandi, the Honorable Wanga and the Honorable Junet have instructions from their party principal to be disrespectful. So I understand, and I've seen that the Honorable Raila Odinga has been very keen to keep NASA together, but some of his people really are very keen also to destroy NASA. And if that were to be the case, then they would definitely fall into hands of Jubilee, because that could be a future strategy of some way to dismantle NASA now. And I think they have to be very careful what they say. In fact, the Honorable Raila Odinga has been very keen to discipline some of these his followers, but nevertheless they never seem to listen to him. So he needs to crack the whip, or else this is going to begin dismantling NASA. And of course we have a coalition agreement, which I believe this is a way of wanting to negate it, that 2022 Kalonzo Musyoka is not the flag bearer. As Wiper, we are, as per the agreement, and as Wiper, Kalonzo Musyoka will be a presidential candidate in 2022, whether for Wiper or for NASA coalition. And I think they must also respect what the summit decides. The summit is where the core principals, all of them, work together and make deliberations on NASA. And people who don't sit in the summit are very busy to undermine what the summit is trying to do. So we need to know whether these three are really working for NASA or for somebody else.
Yes, and the suspicion in his voice is rather clear. You are a senior member of the ANC, another affiliate party of NASA, the deputy party of the ANC. Do you share in that suspicion that probably some elements within ODM are keen on reneging on that coalition deal?
When you listen to a politician, ask yourself what is in the mind of that politician when he's uttering certain words. And what I know, the three of them coming from a very strong Raila backyard are addressing the constituents that support Raila. And therefore they are trying to spot Kalonzo in a way of trying to gain leverage and gravitas at home. And therefore at times I don't treat it as anything that we should take seriously. The only thing that I do is I consult my party leader, and we had a meeting on Tuesday. And he told us they are consulting at that level. Just like any other coalition, it is not so easy because you have to cede certain sovereignty when you move into a coalition. ODM of necessity must also understand they have to cede part of their sovereignty, including their outbursts on the leaders of the coalition.
Yes.
And number two, we formed the coalition on the eve of the last general election. And there were certain teething problems that are yet to be resolved, including the issue of 2022. And also the issue of, are we having elections before 2022 or are we having them in 2022? And who is going to be our presidential candidate, and what is the arrangement, what is the configuration? Because all these parties were formed with a view of influencing or getting to power from Ford Kenya, ANC, ODM, and Wiper. Okay. And therefore each of the leaders has the right to say they are claiming at stake at the presidency, including Raila.
Do you agree that what Bwana Dan Manzo says, that come 2022 for NASA, according to the agreement already signed, it has to be Kalonzo Musyoka?
That was not expressly stated, and I was member of the coalition.
Okay.
What was stated, and this one, if my memory serves me right, is that ODM is not going to present a presidential candidate, and Raila is not going to run as a presidential candidate.
Interestingly, Raila Odinga, during that party's NGC, I think it was on Friday, he said that yes, we should go for this together, but we should also be ready to go it alone. He was addressing an ODM meeting. Do you think that this coalition will hold, and do you think that Raila Odinga could step back and allow any other leader within NASA to go for the presidency?
You know, first of all, what I want to tell my brothers who are part of NASA, that when you look at ODM, I think they are very clear now on the roadmap of what they want to do. And for me, and that's why I always say, give respect, love Raila, hate Raila, but give him his respect, that he's a politician who understands his seasons. And he already knew in this season, I was left at Uhuru Park. I did it with my supporters. And they know I am courageous. I am the man who stands in, regardless of how the surroundings are, regardless of what I'm going through, regardless of those who fear. I am here, I stood. And so for him, he has no baggage again to think that I need to carry anyone to move with. And that's why I said, he is one person who has an electorate vote that believes in him, that even if you try yourself to leave Raila aside and say, I will go, trust me, you will not get that vote. And they won't even come for you. So one of the things that they need to ask, the parties that are affiliated, is after the meeting of Friday, what did former Prime Minister address? And what these people understand him so much that they know Baba has now moved on and this is where we are headed. And anyway, the Johors and the Governor Joho and the others will not allow them. And one thing people should understand also, in his heart, and this is my opinion now, in former Prime Minister's heart, there is no way he will leave for you a base he has created for all those years. That he never became president and you want to use it to become president? Hell no, he will not. Come and forget.
You know, my take, two things. One, these utterances are not out of the blues. I need us to look at a series of events. Over the weekend, there has been a video that has been making rounds of Norman Magaya and Edwin Sifuna. What they've been talking about and saying that they did not recognize the likes of Wiper in that coalition. And I remember somebody was pushing for Joho for the presidency. You also remember the dress down that Joho attempted at Kalonzo Musyoka during the ODM meeting. And then you have the likes of John Badi, Gladys Wanga and Junet Mohammed, who, if you look at them clearly, they're from a certain background. So these are concerted efforts aimed at one person. It is a script that is playing out, and it is aimed at only one individual, and that is Kalonzo Musyoka. And he's the person that they are going to use as an excuse to leave NASA and as an excuse to strengthen ODM. And come 2022 or whichever because I believe the elections will be done in 2022, chances are ODM will go it alone. And it is not the first time that they'll be shortchanging Wiper. We had the code agreement of 2013. The same was swept under the carpet under the name of NASA. So we never had, when it came to last year's election, we never had any NASA. So there was no agreement for ODM to for ODM to obey. So the same thing when Mheshimiwa is saying that the agreement excludes ODM. You'll be surprised that that agreement, they'll be left with a shell, and ODM will move on.
Wow.
Yes.
It appears like your party leader, and probably when same would play out for Bwana Musalia Mudavadi, the leader of ANC, are now caught in a very funny situation that they're trying to realign themselves with Raila Odinga simply because they were not part of that swearing-in ceremony, that they're all trying to endear themselves to ODM supporters now. Probably that's why they even attended an ODM NGC. Now Raila Odinga is already at an advantage moving to 2022. That deal that you're talking about that was signed, that your colleague Bwana Kipruto Rapkiro already disagrees on some of the facts that you indicate, that yes, it is a shell.
One thing is very clear. If ODM goes it alone, then of course it will be an effort which will not bear much fruit. And if Wiper goes it alone, it will be the same. If ANC goes it alone, it is the same. And consequently Ford Kenya. And therefore, this was a unit of purpose. And the moment that purpose is distracted, then what ODM is doing is a sure way of making sure that NASA disintegrates. And that will send Kenya into, a political oblivion, whereby once you disarm the opposition or you disorganize it, of course that is the tool which is being used by Jubilee, and ODM are falling for it. In fact, ODM are going to fall right into the hands of Jubilee, and that will mean this country will not be rescued, from that sort of ruling, the sort of leadership or governance which we are trying to run away from. It means whatever Raila Odinga has been trying to get away from for many years, whatever he has been fighting for many years, then will be destroyed by ODM itself.
Interestingly, Musalia Mudavadi, the leader of ANC, has been very quiet on these matters. He also did not attend that swearing-in ceremony, so it could be in a similar position as Kalonzo Musyoka as far as endearing himself or feeling the need to endear himself to the ODM supporters. What is his position?
Well, I don't know who needs who. Really, if you want to be the president, you need each and every vote. And this is one thing more new that no other politician does understand in Kenya today. Musalia as his constituency, Raila as his constituency, the way Mheshimiwa Elijah said. But these, Kalonzo the same, Moses Wetangula the same, but they are not mutually exclusive. In fact, if one was to look at all these issues, is that at times you can never predict politics. Let's assume, take scenario one, Jubilee runs its show, ODM goes, then the three leaders coalesce under a new configuration or remain in NASA, because after all, when two people walk out of NASA, it doesn't collapse. The configuration...
Even if ODM was to walk out.
Yeah, it will not collapse.
Yes.
It will not collapse. You can call it a shell, you may call it anything else, but it may be a shell that can gather momentum and create such a magnitude of force that Kenyans will say, this is the force that we have been looking for. So never underrate any politician. And I've said it before. Just write obituary of a politician when you are standing on his graveside. But as long as somebody is still working, never write an obituary. Many people thought Kibaki would not be president. He became president for 10 years. And one of the best that this country has had.
Do not write a politician's obituary unless you're standing on his grave. That one from Kipruto Rapkiro, director, ANC Deputy Party Leader. Ladies and gentlemen, our time is up. I'll give you an opportunity for final remarks. A lot is happening in the country as well with the drought. There's that declaration banning logging and a lot other things. Probably you could choose any to comment on some of the headlines We've just tackled the two political headlines today. Yes, there's quite a lot. Let's start, of course, with the lady, the only lady on the panel.
Well, I'll talk about the teachers, and I will say it was very unfortunate for the actors that I had in Northeastern, because you cannot take the right of education beyond the right of sanctity of life. And for me, I want them to sit, not to say the way they were saying they were going to mobilize themselves and come and face now the CEO, Nancy, and team. I think the most important thing they should ask themselves is, what are the parents of also the teachers? For example, the Homa Bay parents who, by the time that their son was coming home, you find that he was even eaten, he was half. I mean, they should not just, and they are very lucky. Northeastern is the only place where you can be given, even when you are retired. If you want to go and teach in Northeastern, you're allowed. Northeastern has they were given the best open policies. Now, they were given 1 year to go and train. And when they trained, they never decided to go and become teachers again. They went and worked through NGOs. So I want to ask them, while your children have trained to become teachers, are going to work in NGOs, and then you expect other families to come, yes, and they are agreeing to come, but now Al-Shabaab will know Elachi. Al-Shabaab will not know Muhammad, or he knows Elachi, he knows Wamboi, he knows Kirwa. It's unfair. So for them to do that, what they did on Saturday, and the way they spoke, was very unfair to the country and even to those teachers who would wish to go to them. What they need to be asking themselves, they had promised when we had the last massacre in 2014 or 2015 that they will have guards in schools and all that, which has never happened. So they need also to ask themselves, why can they also come out, be the ones to take the mantle and help the other teachers to feel safeguarded?
Okay, of course, the safety of non-local teachers in Northeastern is still one of the hot topics that the country is discussing. Dan Manzo.
Yes, I really want to talk about the issue of the logging and climate change and the way now the rains have failed Kenyans. You can see from Magarini, from Coast to Kambani to the Rift Valley to central Kenya. There's an effort everywhere which and a lot of confusion whether it is the county which is responsible for afforestation or whether it's the national government. And in fact, the 3-month ban is a short one. There must be very strict regulations on how to deal with the forests, on how to deal with the trees, on why this charcoal burning all of a sudden. We are definitely destroying our environment at a very alarming rate, and getting the results at the same time with the failure of rains and not even be able to predict the seasons. And I think the government now has to take a very strong stand, especially on the Mau. A few years ago, the Honorable Raila Odinga may have paid a very heavy political price on Mau, but now today everyone sees what the Honorable Raila Odinga stood for. And I think the government needs to move very urgently and stop this destruction of forest. And it's happening everywhere, including Makueni County. You know, everybody has a license now to cut down trees and make money out of it for their own personal gain. Yet, you know, from the days of Moi, you could not even cut a tree without planting 2. I think now before you cut 1, you need to plant 10. But there must be a general government policy and a serious investment so that we can reforest our country.
Okay, thank you, Bwana Dan Manzo, for that. Murigi Kamande?
I would want to echo Honorable Dan Manzo's sentiments on this. It's a very serious issue. We've been experiencing serious climate change in this country. And I believe that the directive by the Deputy President of the 90-day ban, it is not sufficient. We need to get a program for reforestation and afforestation. Even if it takes whatever number of years for us to plant a sufficient number of trees, we need to plant those trees. So I believe the same way. There's Honorable Keriako Tobiko as the Minister for Environment has his work cut out. We need to protect the environment, not just for us, but also for future generations. And we need to start with conserving our forests. We cannot stand as we lose Mau Forest, which is our greatest source of water. And the same thing is happening here across at the Aberdare. You can see there is there's a dam that is already declining, so we need to conserve, and at the same time we need a program that is going to facilitate for the benefit of future generations.
Thank you, Murege. Finally, Bwana Kipruto Rapkirwa.
Well, with the risk of sounding repetitive, the issue of environmental degradation is something that should be taken seriously. We do hope that apart from the need for us to do reforestation, there is also need for us to change in terms of attitude, because many Kenyans don't seem to realize the impact the environment has on their own lives. The other day I read in the news that DRC is going to sell to China 650,000 hectares of DRC forest. Some of the trees are over 500 years. And if that is going to happen, it will affect the ecosystem of East Africa. And therefore, some of these issues should be taken nationally and also internationally for the purpose of achieving the ecosystem that we require, so that we do not run the risk of sounding so much reactive instead of being proactive. Finally, I think the government food policy should be restructured. During the 10 years of Kibaki, the first 5 years when I was Minister for Agriculture, we had 3 serious programs. The issue of livestock offtake, where you are supposed to sense and offtake, feed and sell or resell back to the farmers when the season comes back. We had also the issue of assisting farmers in some of the devastated areas with hay. We want to see more of that. And finally, there was also the issue of the strategic grain reserve, which has not been sustained for the last 5 years Jubilee has been in government. We need to do that, lest we run the risk of sounding like we are only reacting to a situation when it is too late.
Yes, of course, as it stands, 3.4 Kenyans are facing starvation, according to the latest report by the Kenya Red Cross. And also, the government has declared a 90-day ban on logging across the country, trying to save the water towers. These are some of the biggest discussions today. Thank you so much, Speaker Beatrice Salachi from the Nairobi County Assembly, Dan Manzo MP Makueni, Murege Kamande, a lawyer and an analyst, and Kipruto Rapkirwa, Deputy Party Leader, ANC, helping us look at the headlines this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, the Power Breakfast still continues. Remember, it's Inspiration Monday. Dr. Wale Akinyemi will be in studio, as well as that interesting bicycle ride by Willis Raburu and Joy Mubengi. Do stand by for that. And the hashtag to use up until 9 a.m. is Power Breakfast. My name is Freddie Ndimuli. Good morning. Thank you.